This is Professor Derek Seitz. This Java tutorial demonstrates while loops, which are one of the repetition mechanisms in the Java programming language. This program has a main function that calls these other functions that will illustrate various while loops. Our first function, stop on same random number. We generate a random number between 1 and 10. We're going to print out annotations to make the output clear. Then we have a while loop with a condition of true. That means it's going to keep going unless something inside the loop causes it to exit. In the loop, we'll generate a second random number, and we'll compare the second random number and the first random number. If they're equal, we'll display that a match has occurred and return from the function and get out. That's our first while loop with a true condition. Our next while loop, parse sentence. We have a string sentence here, and we're going to have a while loop with a parser, a scanner parser, and check, and the scanner is instantiated to have sentence, the string, as its source of input, so it will be looking at that string. Our while loop, the condition says parser has next, so as long as it has another token, we'll perform the while loop. In the while loop, we use parser next to get the token, and then we print it out. Our next example is a countdown. We start with 10, and our while loop has a condition. While our number is greater than or equal to 0, we'll display the number and then decrement number by 1, number minus minus, and it's a countdown as long as it's greater than or equal to 0, and once it gets to 0, it'll be our last time through the loop, and then we'll display blast off. Here is a do while 1, we have a do while 2. Do while is different than the while. In the whiles, the condition, as we see up here in this countdown, is evaluated first, and in order to go into the while loop, the condition must be true. If the condition is not true, the while loop will be skipped. So it's possible for the body of the loop to not execute at all, depending upon the condition. The do while, which we have here, has a do, and then the while is after the body of the loop. So the body of the loop is always executed one time at a minimum, and then the continuation will be depending on the while condition at the bottom of the loop. This particular example, we have a random number generator, and we're going to generate two random numbers, I and j, and take their sum, display their sum. We'll do that for sure at least one time, and then the condition that's checked after doing that, if the sum is less than or if equal to 15, and each of those numbers is between 1 and 10, if the sum is less than or equal to 15, we'll continue doing this. So that's a do while. And then finally, once we come out of it, the next statement will be printing out that the sum is now greater than 15 and print out what that sum is. This second do while, the comment here says it's version 2 using a regular while. We're going to do the equivalent of what that do while did without actually having to use a do while. Here's how we do it. We use a while with a true condition, which means it's going to go into it for sure the first time, and we do those statements, and then instead of having to the while at the bottom, we have our condition at the bottom of our loop body here. If the sum is less than or equal to 15, we use the continue statement. The continue statement is a special statement in looping constructs. It means to go back to the next iteration of the loop. Well, the loop's right here, not up there. To go back to where the loop begins at the condition and evaluate the condition again. So right here it'll go back up and do this again. Otherwise, if it's not less than or equal to 15, the break is another special loop control statement. It means to exit the loop that you're in. If you're in nested loops, it exits the current one out to the next level up. So continue and break are very useful statements to have available when you're doing Java programming with loops and conditions and nested loops. Let's go ahead and run this program and look at the output. Here we have stop on same random number. The first random number is 10. Then we're generating other ones in a loop, and when we finally get a match, another 10, a random match has occurred and we're out of that loop. Parsing the sentence. Here's the sentence. On the left side of the dusty road, a field of tall sunflowers stood at attention. And the tokens that were pulled out, each token was pulled out using that has next in the while. The countdown, 10, 9, 8 through 0, and then blast off. Our do while version 1, the sum of the two numbers. Here, and when it gets to 18 is greater than 15, and it breaks out. In version 2, here when it gets to 17, it breaks out. Let's go back to the code now again. It's important to maintain proper indentation with your while loops. The while has a block of code that it controls with beginning and ending braces. Right here's the ending and there's the beginning. They should line up with the while keyword, and then that block, everything in there is indented one level. The indentation here is 2 spaces, and it's not until another block that there would be any further indenting. Every set of beginning and ending braces is a block. So here the if is another block, and the code within that is indented another level. This is important for the readability of your program, to understand the logic. The condition of a while can be any condition, including true. And with a top controlled while loop, the regular one here, it evaluates the condition first. If it's true, it executes the body of the block and then goes back up and checks whatever that condition is again, and keeps doing that until either the condition is false or you exit out of the body, the block of the while loop, through some other statement. In this case here we have a return statement which exits the entire function, so that obviously takes you out of the loop as well. So here we have a true condition. Down here we had checking for more input in an input stream of a string here as our while control condition. Here it was a relational greater than or equal to condition. This was the bottom controlled, called do while, with a relational condition down there, and then the equivalent version of it with a true condition, top controlled, which guarantees at least one iteration of the loop. So while loops are very useful for doing various types of logic, as we see here, parsing, checking for things that involve repetition.